Why did we do it? Again, I guess because supposedly Iran made it known that if anyone hurt them, they'd hurt us. And then we were told that Israel was going to hurt them, which mean by proxy meant Iran was going to hurt us. So instead of letting them hurt us, we hurt them first. Is the supply chain of oil going to be impacted? I first saw it news yes, and then news no. So then oil went from up 10% to up 5%. And then it was back yes, and then it was back no. And oil's been extremely volatile. Super weird. The dollar definitely strengthened, but the bond market sold off. Again, really, really bizarre stuff. We went from risk off, where Bitcoin looked like it was going to make new recent lows lower than 60, and then it closed at 70.
When the US-Iran war started a few days ago, many people feared it would completely destabilize the global markets, causing even steeper price declines for Bitcoin and the broader crypto space. The fears were justified. Iran is one of the world's largest oil producers. Despite US sanctions, it pumped out more fossil fuels than every other country except the US, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Canada in 2025. In addition, the Persian Gulf region, where Iran is located, contains an estimated 50% of the world's oil reserves. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates are close to Iran and well within range of its missiles and drones. This explains why Iran's response to the attack is already causing major disruptions to oil and gas supplies. Iran has also vowed to attack any ship trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passage between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, through which around a fifth of global oil production flows. All of these developments culminated into a big ball of worry for Bitcoiners, who have suffered the brunt of every market decline over the past few months but shared in none of the victories and rallies. However, the tide seems to be changing. Not only is Bitcoin performing above expectations, it has outperformed every other asset class in the last 24 hours. As of Tuesday, silver was down 9%. Nasdaq was down 1.6%, Russell 2000 was down 1.28%, S&P 500 was down 0.38%, gold was up 0.85%, but Bitcoin was up 1.7%. The flagship cryptocurrency continued to climb even higher on Wednesday, and as of press time, is up by 8% in the past 24 hours and 10% in 7 days. Despite the biggest escalation the world has seen in years, Bitcoin is outperforming everything. What exactly is happening right now, and what comes next for Bitcoin? To answer this all-important question, we turn to recent analysis from Strike CEO and OG Bitcoiner Jack Mallers. In the latest episode of his weekly podcast titled War, AI, and Bitcoin in Deep Value, Mallers takes us through what these all mean for Bitcoin and the global economy at large, and why this moment is more crucial than many believe. If you value actionable insights during this extremely volatile period, please watch, share, and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. We appreciate the support and hope you enjoy the video.
The regime is dead. Okay, so for those that have been living under a rock, I hate to be the one to break the news to you, but the United States is in war or has declared war. But even that, I'm not entirely sure, because you need Congress to go to war. But do you? Because I thought post 9/11, the president has discrepancy to start war, but not declare it. See, this is the thing. I'm not a politics guy. I vote orange. I'm not left, right, blue, red, up, down, blah, blah. You guys have heard me say this a million times. That's just not who I am. It's not my expertise, okay? So take this all with a grain of salt. I don't know if we're officially in war, because I think Congress needs to declare war. Did we bomb Iran? Yes. Did we terminate and kill the regime? Yes. And so this screenshot, by the way, as we'll see in a second, this is U.S. and Israel. So U.S. and Israel launch major combat operations in Iran. This post was from the White House. And in Trump's screenshotted Truth Social post, it's one of the most evil people in history is dead. This is not only justice for the people of Iran, but for all great Americans and those people from many countries throughout the world, okay? So we go on. Now, the question is, why Why now? What's going on geopolitically? And let me just say, the official stance of the Jack Mallers Show is I'm not sure we know. Okay? We're going to take a look at the oil markets, the gold markets. The oil markets, the gold markets led this. Bitcoin, as the smoke alarm, led this. It sold off hard over the weekend. It rallied over 5% today, which was very, very interesting. So markets were all over this. Free markets are the best. It's the best capitalistic system to incentivize progress we've ever seen. Free markets are the best. They're the best. And so all you got to do is look at markets to look at the truth. So I think I have a good idea, but I'm not entirely sure. Now, this was posted like an hour ago. So this is Marco Rubio of the U.S. government. I want you guys to listen to this because this is the first time we've heard from the U.S. government why now and what's going on. I was a little shocked when I heard this, but let's listen.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true because, in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Interesting. So my interpretation after listening to that, and again, this is hot off the press. That was just live TV. I guess it was known that if the West, which all leads back to the U.S., right? Like the European defense is the West, is America. Israeli defense obviously is America. And so if anyone hit Iran, it was known information that Iran would hit the United States, I guess, or retaliate to the United States. And then it was known that Israel was going to hit Iran. So then by proxy, it meant Iran was going to attack the United States. So Trump said, screw that. If we're going to get attacked, we might as well, the best defense is offense. That's my interpretation of that, which is, again, this is all so fresh and so new and so classic. I mean, politics is just a joke, an utter and complete joke. I mean, I'm sorry. I hate to be that guy, but if you think you're going to change the world by putting the right person in office, I mean, who are you kidding? I mean, can we be serious? No, you're going to change the world through open source software, through engineering, through distributed systems, through hard money, through health, through truth, through morals, through principles, through family. That's my message on my platforms. We're getting married. We're having kids. We're stacking sats. We're building software. These guys, I mean, it doesn't matter who you put in office. What are they talking about? So if someone hurt Iran, Iran would hurt us. So the fact that someone was going to hurt Iran by proxy meant Iran was going to attack us. So instead of them attacking us, we just them up. What the? All right. So anyways, why now? Why Operation Midnight Hammer? I don't know, okay? And I'm not a politician. I don't know the answer. Here's another angle that's very important, okay? This is not just a Middle East story. Now, whether this is the motivation, whether this is the driver, again, I don't know. I think next week's show is going to have a lot more depth. I'm going to be able to do a lot more research. It's coming off hot off the press. It's hotter than a GG sauna right now, okay? For you guys to know, this is very important information. China buys 90% of Iran's oil. Okay, so this is not just a Middle East story. This is always, at the end of the day, if you zoom out far enough, you know on Google Maps where you just hit zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out until you're at the peak of the zoom out bird's eye view to the max. That's what it's always US and China. Always, always, always US and China. Okay. And so the US China aspect of this is, think about it, guys. What was Venezuela? Venezuela was selling China oil at a discount. What was Iran? Iran was selling China oil at a discount. Who was involved in Venezuela? Who had boots in the ground in Venezuela? There were 3 primary countries. We went over this. Who was entering the United States hemisphere? According to the U.S. government, that's what they used. Get out of our hemisphere. Who was in the United States hemisphere via Venezuela? There were 3 countries. Can you take a wild guess? It was Iran, China, and Russia.
There is no iota of doubt that there is a deep connection between what happened in Venezuela earlier this year with the capture of Maduro and the attacks against Iran. It's all deeply connected, and as Mallers repeatedly says in the video, we won't get the full picture until everything begins to settle. Even then, we might never get a full picture. The only thing we can absolutely rely on right now is the signal we are getting from the markets, particularly from Bitcoin. Historically, an increase in oil prices tends to have negative short-term effects on Bitcoin. However, the negative effects often flip bullish in the mid to long term. This is because the factors that drive up oil prices, in this case the US-Iran war, ultimately lead to Fed rate cuts or outright money printing to finance the war efforts, a move that historically drives Bitcoin prices higher. We believe the market is already pricing in this outcome, which is one of the reasons Bitcoin and crypto prices are climbing higher after months of low sentiments. But there is an even bigger reason for this rally, which we shall discuss in the later part of this video after more explosive, in-depth analysis from Jack Mallers.
Energy is the nucleus of energy is the currency of the universe. The currency of the universe. You need to travel. You need to have electricity, you need to have lights, you need to communicate, everything. You need energy. That's the story of humanity is commercializing energy from the sun, okay? The latest iteration of that for us is fossil fuels, okay? And so the price of oil is extremely important. It's the most important commodity price when you think about inflation. So if oil gaps up 10% over the weekend because of combat and a conflict in the Middle East, that's a huge, huge, huge deal. And this tweet from Luke is super, super interesting. In the red, you see the crude prices trending up. In the blue, you see the UST yields trending down. Interesting. Now the question is, which one's going to bite? We'll get back to that in a second. So this morning, after crude is up, futures are up 10% over the weekend. We're seeing the conflict go down. CME says that circuit breakers hit on open this morning. And so oil markets are going bananas. Now, put yourself in this. Oil markets are going bananas, gold is going up, and risk is entirely off. Bitcoin is bleeding. Everyone's calling for below 60K, below 60K, below 60K. And by the way, like it was really interesting because markets seemed to, it was weird. Markets seemed to know what was going on before we all did, the public, and even the headlines seem to know. So I want you guys to look at this tweet on the left. I'm going to read it out loud. There's a flurry of reports over the last 72 hours from the U.S. media. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Axios, CBS, etc., raising questions on U.S. readiness for major war with Iran. There's too much for it to be a coincidence. Either the White House is trying to signal to its allies that they're taking a deal, or the Pentagon is trying to tie Trump's hands to make sure they're not blamed for the results of the war. And then there's a Washington Post article, Trump's top general foresees acute risks in an attack on Iran. And so I guess here's the thing I want to convey to you guys, and sorry if I'm being repetitive, but we just don't really know what's going on yet. Because leading up to what ended up being a strike on Iran, all of U.S. media was saying, don't do it, don't do it. There's a lot of risk. Here, let me read these headlines to you guys. Trump's top general warns of Iran strike risks. Trump growing frustrated with limits of Iran military options. Missed funerals and blocked toilets. Iran deployment takes a toll on U.S. sailors. Trump's top general foresees acute risks in an attack on Iran. This is not a coincidence. This is not a mistake. These are not all independent journalists arriving at the same conclusions at the same time right before an event. As the tweet said, this is one of two things. This is the White House trying to signal to its allies, which it sounds like was Israel, according to Marco Rubio, like, hey, don't do this. Or it was the Pentagon trying to signal to the world, like, this isn't our decision. Again, really interesting stuff. Really interesting stuff. But on the back of these headlines, and obviously the free market is the most efficient, so someone knew something. Gold started to move. Oil started to move. It was really, really interesting, guys. Okay? And I love this tweet from Luke. In war, truth is the first casualty. Okay? So in war, one thing I can guarantee you is we're going to get fed a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of lies, a bunch of trash. Don't trust a politician. Don't trust a headline you read. Hopefully this show can serve you guys a little bit of truth, a little bit of substance. I'm always going to keep it as real, as authentic, as honest as I possibly can, to my utmost being, to the neurons I'm made up of. I always will. You guys always hold me accountable to that. Okay. But the first casualty in war is truth. The second casualty, bonds. Because one, it was really weird. Okay. So anyways, I'm looking at markets and I'm seeing gold up, oil up, dollar up, and that is risk off. Bitcoin was getting smoked. And I'm thinking the S&P 500 is going to get hammered. And maybe this is the time the stock market gets its correction. All the leverage combined with all the AI stuff is going to wipe everybody out. They're going to have to take out the money printer. It was really interesting. And then all of a sudden, the S&P 500 closed green. Risk came back on. Bitcoin closed up 5%. So I had wrote in the tweet I tweeted out today promoting the show, I said, on the Monday of war in Iran, the S&P 500 closing green is maybe one of the scariest things in financial markets. It was so bizarre. So war in Iran, oil hit circuit breakers, bonds are selling off, but by noon, by lunch, the stock market had rebounded and erased everything that happened over the weekend. It was super interesting to me. It was really, really interesting. That's where my head's at in regards to Iran right now. Why did we do it? Again, I guess because supposedly Iran made it known that if anyone hurt them, they'd hurt us. And then we were told that Israel was going to hurt them, which mean by proxy meant Iran was going to hurt us. So instead of letting them hurt us, we hurt them first. And is oil, is the supply chain of oil going to be impacted? I first saw it news yes, and then news no. So then oil went from up 10% to up 5%. And then it was back yes, and then it was back no. And oil's been extremely volatile. Super weird. The dollar definitely strengthened, but the bond market sold off. Again, really, really bizarre stuff. We went from risk off, where Bitcoin looked like it was going to make new recent lows lower than 60, and then it closed at 70. The market's still trying to digest what the is going on.
Bitcoin might not be performing in line with expectations at the moment, but some things remain unchanged, particularly its role as the ultimate safe haven asset. Gold's surprising performance over the past year, and Bitcoin's not too appealing performance during the same period, brought to question Bitcoin's role as a safe haven asset. Many critics, especially gold bugs like Peter Schiff, mocked Bitcoin's digital gold moniker, but the situation in Iran is proving them wrong. According to on-chain analysis from Chainalysis, there has been a sharp surge in crypto activity from major Iranian cryptocurrency exchanges since the attack started on Saturday. In the 3 days following the beginning of the war, roughly $10.3 million in crypto assets flowed out of the exchanges. As the Iranian rial continues to crash rapidly against the US dollar, Iranians are seeking an exit from the crumbling financial system by buying Bitcoin and taking their Bitcoin off exchanges. On-chain data shows over $7.8 billion in crypto activity over the past year alone, and it continues to climb even higher and faster. According to Chainalysis report, individual Iranians appear to be moving funds from centralized exchanges to personal wallets, seeking safety and self-custody amid the tension and instability. The report also suggests that some of the transfers may involve state-aligned actors using domestic platforms for cross-border trade, sanctions evasion, or proxy financing. While further and deeper analysis is required to truly differentiate which is which, the fact is that Iranians are turning to Bitcoin to avoid the crumbling financial system. This is exactly what Bitcoiners have been talking about for almost 2 decades now. The financial system is crumbling, the global order is dying, and you need an exit. A hard asset, outside the control of governments, and one that preferably does not tie you down to a physical location or require you to cart around tons of metal when trying to leave a war-torn region in the dead of the night. That asset is Bitcoin. Iranians are realizing that and grappling with the reality as we speak. But who knows what country comes next? It could very well be yours, and you need to ask yourself if you are really prepared for what's coming. Thanks for spending your time with us. Please share your thoughts, comments, and observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you get instantly notified whenever we upload a video. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. See you in the next one.